Good evening, everyone. The video cut out, and that was about half an hour ago, because what I had to do was I had to upload the video, delete it off my phone to create more storage, and then redo this one. I have to talk incredibly quiet because there's people trying to sleep in the rooms next to me. I'm going to start this video off on a different subject to the previous, to what I finished on. Regarding the statistics, what I'm going to do going onwards is, okay, when I worked for the punting team, they had an amazing spreadsheet. It was a Google Docs spreadsheet, and it was one of those really fancy ones they paid a lot of money for, and it was very good and everything matched up. I'm going to get one of them for the channel, but what I will say, and don't worry about this too much for now, but if there's anyone out there who's an expert at Google Documents and they'd be willing to take payment in an amount of money to the charity of their choice from the channel, something could be worked out. I understand that's not an ideal payment, but I'll always have loyalty to the small bookmaker and these things that I worked for, and I'll always be against Ladbrokes. I think all of us have inherent biases through what have happened, and I would never be loyal to Ladbrokes, and I think I made that quite clear on the Ladbrokes Stories video, which was 100% true. But I'm just saying that because I'm aware of the bias, whereas I would never say anything wrong about the small bookmaker, because if somebody, I will say this, if somebody shows you loyalty, then you're better off to, do you know what I mean? That's not to say, I must say this, that's not to say if somebody shows you loyalty then they can do anything terrible, but that's not the case. But the problem with small bookmakers in this day and age is they're so bound up by regulation. There's so many costs and fees. It's an impossibility to even. I'll end this story by saying this. I saw nothing wrong with the independent bookmakers, but I saw many things wrong at Ladbrokes. When I was in Belarus, I used to drink because I was there for quite a while. Once this video ends, I'm just going to finish it, by the way, that's it. And anyway, when I was in Belarus, I used to drink all of the time at a pub called the Vinie Bar. In the middle of Minsk, there's a bar called the Vinie Bar. It's not too far from the McDonald's. And one day, I said to the owner of this bar, I said, you know that the name Vinie, you know that it has two N's, because he'd spelt the name Vinie Jones with one N in Vinie. And I said, you know there's two, don't you? And he said to me, yeah, I know, but I don't want to get sued by Vinie Jones. And I said to him, I don't think Vinie Jones is going to sue you, because it's a tiny boozer in the middle of Eastern Europe. And he said he just wanted to be careful. Can you imagine the actor Vinie Jones suing a tiny bar in Belarus? Anyway, it was a lovely bar. Anyway, and the whole bar is just full of pictures of Vinie Jones. And if you go to the bathroom, there's just just a big angry Vinnie Jones looking at you. When I was in Serbia, I was seeing a really nice girl from the chicken box, because there was a little takeaway called the chicken box, and it was terribly packed all of the time because it was right in the city centre, and there was a really sweet girl there. Regarding what I said before with the deed poll of the name, I only mention it, and I mention it so openly. One, because there's hundreds of people who know anyway. Rightfully so. I used to have a Twitter account, and I had something like, I think it was 1,600 followers. So there's a large extent of people who know me and know me throughout my gambling career. And they know the mistakes I've made along the way. They know everything about me. So there's a wide variety of people watching this. But the main thing is, I changed it for my own preference. See, if it was for fraudulent reasons or criminal reasons, it would be different. Because I believe in this case, people shouldn't be able to escape an old name. I think if you've committed a crime or something like this, you shouldn't be able to just change your name. Because you shouldn't be able to do that. But if somebody wants to change their name for genuine reasons, then of course they have the right as a free person. I've had a couple of people come on here and they've used the other name, and I've had somebody else. It was in a situation and he started off here. He was like, oh, and he mentioned the other one. And they do it as kind of like a oh, I'm gonna mention at some point that you deed polled your name. I would tell them anyway. About a quarter of the channel know. Why did I mention it tonight? Don't know really. It would have come up at some point. I got a taxi to Ukraine once from Moldova. It was about 6 hours. It was me and another professional gambler. We got a taxi from Chisinau to Odessa. Odessa was very nice. It was in Ukraine. There's a Nike store. There's a Nike store in Odessa. And I think very much of the manager at this Nike store, Alexandra. What's my plans for life going onwards? Don't know. Don't know, keep gambling. The game will go at some point, but it's just part of a wider ranging problem. For those that are desperate, because gambling is getting harder and harder, regulation. but it's a wood for the trees situation. The regulation problems that are going to hit us as humans stretches far further than gambling. Just trying to think what I want to talk about. Anything but statistics, it seems, which is quite fitting for a minus 26% month. What am I drinking? Chamomile. I smoke far too many cigarettes. I don't smoke anything else now. I've made mistakes in the last year, maybe, but I don't smoke anything else. But I do want to quit the cigarettes at some point. But it's not the biggest issue. I'm going to try give off as many good vibrations now in general, and not laden myself down with bad vibrations. Why did I spend so much time travelling? Because it was cheaper and it was easy to get on. Some countries you could just use on, I don't mean in shops, but in Spain you can get on in shops. Because I was in Barcelona and Malaga. I'll tell you what, the train journey between the two, it's an absolute nightmare. You go through Madrid, it's about 7 hours. And you can gamble there quite successfully. You just arb it in them little shops. I used to love travelling. I'm going to end this here because I don't think I've got anything else to say. And I'll just be looking into the wall. But this is the benefit of doing a free channel. Because if I was charging you, then I wouldn't be able to talk much about Vinie Jones' pub and the girl from the chicken box. I hope you all have a lovely evening.